Right, 16 October 2023, and today I've got one of the most important topics that I need to handle about the current situation in Zimbabwe, and this is with regards to the crazy situation that is taking place at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe and now at the Ministry of Finance, where President Mnangagwa has made one of the worst mistakes ever that has ever been made by a president. And this is to appoint his son, Kuda Mnangagwa, to be the Deputy Minister of Finance, something that has never been done in the whole world for a sitting president to appoint his almost teenage son to be the president, to be the Minister of Finance of an economy like Zimbabwe. And when you look at the economy of Zimbabwe and the kind of education that young Zimbabweans have got, the people that we have in Zimbabwe who work at the World Bank, in the International Monetary Fund, here in South Africa, multiple Zimbabweans are leaders in industry and commerce. People that have started businesses, CEOs of banks all over Zimbabwe. And President Mnangagwa chose to appoint his son that has just graduated less than 2 years ago. He's got no experience in financial industry. He has no experience in running a bank. He does not know how to run an economy. He has never started a company. In fact, if it was me, I was going to find him something else to play with, not the economy of a country like Zimbabwe. That is a terrible mistake by President Mnangagwa. And this is probably one of the last mistakes that is going to be known for as the president of Zimbabwe. But without going further into that, I'll handle that another day. Young Kuda Mnangagwa is finding it very, very difficult to maneuver the economy in Zimbabwe. In fact, Mthuli Ncube, who is more qualified, is finding it difficult to operate in Zimbabwe. This is because the Zimbabwean economy has collapsed. Nothing is moving in Zimbabwe. The Central Bank of Zimbabwe, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, has stopped publishing the weekly economic review since July. They've stopped publishing the monthly economic review since July. That is because everything that is happening in Zimbabwe in terms of the economy, the numbers that they're putting out, they're lies. There's no truth in those numbers. In fact, they're living from hand to mouth. And I don't know how much debt they are creating there at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. They are creating instruments that are unknown in this world, and they're failing to fix the basic thing that needs to be fixed in Zimbabwe. And I always say it here, the day when you walk to an ATM and you withdraw $100 US and you put it in your pocket and you go away, that is the day the Zimbabwean economy is going to be normal. Currently, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is trying to create bond notes, ZWL, EcoCash. They create something else. I don't know what the money from Simba brands is called. They've got a lot of monies. They've also created gold coins, the Moswatinya gold coins. They have also now created the Zimbabwe gold-backed digital tokens, the ZIG. And these ZIGs, they are supposed to maintain value, but now they're also supposed to transact. And I want to play for you the clip when they launch this money. Then we'll go into how Kuda Mnangagwa is failing to comprehend what's happening because it's an uncomprehendable. It's what is the word? It's a fugazi. The Zimbabwe ZIG, it's a fugazi. A fugazi is some animal that you don't know if it's coming or going, and you don't know whether it's laughing or crying. That is a fugazi, and that is what the ZIG is.
In a world of an ever-changing and volatile financial markets landscape, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has introduced a cutting-edge financial instrument that combines stability and convenience. The ZIG, a gold-backed digital token, and now unveils an added feature, the ability to transact in this instrument. 1. As a bank customer, you approach your bank to buy ZIG tokens denominated in milligrams, payable in Zim dollars or US dollars. 2. Minimum purchase of ZIG by individuals is 10 US dollars and corporates is 5,000 US dollars or the Zimbabwean dollar equivalent. 3. Once ZIG has been purchased, the holder will, in addition to their existing bank account, now have a ZIG account denominated in milligrams of gold. 4. The bank client can now transact using their ZIG account through swipe and online payments. 5. A holder can keep ZIG balances for transacting or store of value purposes with a redemption option in US dollars or Zim dollars depending on their preference after a 180-day vesting period. 6. Goods and services will also be priced in ZIG. Tap into the power of ZIG, the Zimbabwe Gold. ZIG. Stability, security, and convenience.
Right, so that's the ZIG from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. A crazy thing that you cannot explain, that does not serve a purpose. That is, if you look at what they're doing, it's exactly what they did with the bond note. They say you're going to have an extra bank account. Your bank account will be safe. You'll be able to transact after 180 days. You can see the similarity here. It's a similar script that they're playing here. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is in the worst hands that it can ever be. A bank can never be in as bad hands as what the Reserve Bank is right now. And to make matters worse, they've now taken in Shona what we call a toddler or Ndumure, and they've put him they've put him in charge of the finances of the whole country. This is not a laughing matter. What President Mnangagwa has done here is going to be part of his downfall. You cannot have a young man of this age with such lack of experience and with such power, because remember, he's the son of a president. So when the minister sees him, he does not treat him like his junior. He treats him like his senior. So you basically have now a finance minister who's got no experience, who does not know what is happening, and they've created a disaster here. But anyway, let's go to the what happened in Parliament last week when young Mnangagwa was asked what's going to happen in 2025. Now that the Zimbabwe, you see, the current law which governs how currency works in Zimbabwe, the multi-currency system works in Zimbabwe, is ending in 2025. And he said here that I want to assure the nation we are looking into that because the Zimbabwe currency is here to stay. In 2025 was the suggested date by industry stakeholders, also in line with the NDS1, and the deadline is approaching. So what is basically saying here is that now that the deadline is approaching, the Zimbabwe dollar is being looked at again to say that we have the, the Zimbabwe dollar as the only currency. So he says not, we also have the ZIG, which is another way of restoring value. It is an alternative. The local currency that is being rejected can actually be used to purchase the ZIG. You get it? He's saying people don't like the local currency. We're going to give them something else and give it another name. And then they can buy that thing. So far, what the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has done, they have sold, every week they're selling approximately, let's say $900,000 worth of ZIG. And they are not disclosing who's buying the ZIG. Then since they started, they've sold about 340 kgs of gold. And to put that into context, Muroa diamond mining or Riozim, they produce, I can say, almost similar amount of gold in a year. So you can clearly see that if such a big operation as Riozim is producing between 195 kgs and 300 kgs, this is why I call it a for gas. There's nothing here. There's no gold backing this thing. So slowly, you are not going to move away from 1-to-1 because the actual gold is not there to back the ZIG and then to back the Muswatunya. It's all a mirage. Everything that's happening in Zimbabwe, it's a mirage. And I will later on this week touch at what's happening in Rwanda. The Zimbabwe government is run out of money. They've run out of dollars. They've also run out of gold. They have got nothing of value left in the Zimbabwe government. What they've left with now is these things that they create, the mirage, to con people with a little bit of money. And what they should be doing is to fix the Zimbabwe dollar. And it's very simple. And I don't even want to go into a lot of detail here. More qualified people than myself have explained why money is not circulating. Money is not circulating in Zimbabwe because of the very same reason of what is happening now. You've got people in charge who don't know what they're doing. You've got people in charge who are afraid of releasing the economy to function. And the simplest way to make the economy function, which is better than ZIG, I've said to you, create ATMs in Zimbabwe. Put 10 US dollar ATMs in Harare. Remember long back when I used to go to Zimbabwe, I used to know that if I go to Arundel, if I go to Southerton, CBZ, if I go to Masvingo, CBZ, if I go to Central Harare, there was a US dollar ATM there. So if you put $1 million in that ATM, the foreigner will come with their card, a Visa or a MasterCard, and they'll withdraw that money. And then for each $100 that I withdrew, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe would then take $2. That's 2%. It's already legislated. You take the 2%, you have created money from outside the country. Right now, a tourist flies from South Africa, goes into Victoria Falls, and spends $2,000. Instead of the Zimbabwe government taking $40 from that money, the tourist carries cash, goes to FNB South Africa and changes the money there, gets charged the money at FNB, and leaves nothing in Zimbabwe. That is the problem with the guys in Zimbabwe. They don't understand how money is made and how money circulates because they don't want money to be in formal bank accounts. They want to do these ZIG things and Muswatunya, things that you cannot measure, things that you cannot calculate, things that you can easily launder. So this is basically money laundering that we're seeing here. In 10 years' time, if you go back and say, how many ZIG did you sell? How much gold did you have for the ZIG? All you see is thin air. That's exactly what a Fugazi is. This is what we have here. The ZIG is a Fugazi. So I think we've done this, we've covered this. They want to introduce the local currency. They've created a new currency, which they think people will accept. And I want to obviously mention the honorable here, Honorable Zemura, I think. Right, that is Honorable Zemura. I was speaking to Kuda Mnangagwa in Parliament, and he asked the question of why that $50 has been banned or is no longer accepted. But now these are the new things that are coming up. And obviously, Nyabani also came in and asked if the rural people can get the ZIG. And young Mnangagwa said each ZIG is 6 cents. So anyone can get the ZIG. And it's a digital token. Remember, it's a digital token. Now we are going into another level where we understand why it's important to employ proper ministers. You saw what's happening with the Minister of ICT. If I ask you anything ICT related beyond how an iPhone takes pictures, she will not be able to tell me. And here you have a similar situation where the Minister of Finance or the de facto Minister of Finance does not understand how these financial instruments work. And these financial instruments are what is destroying our economy. The Zimbabwe economy has stopped, and I keep telling people every day, the words that I'm speaking now, wait a few more months, they will no longer be words. It will be wide in your eyes. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. The guys at the Reserve Bank have even stopped trying to lie about the whole situation. They stopped in July. The numbers don't add up. And these guys need to do something. They need to fix this. I said this in March already. treat this like a national emergency. You cannot have people go through so much hardship as what is happening in Zimbabwe because you just don't want to listen. You have to listen. You have to understand the hardships that people are going through. The people at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe are people. Understand and have empathy for our people and the suffering that they're going through. For 20 years, Zimbabweans have not been able to withdraw cash from the bank. Mothers and fathers have had to live through this economy, which is created by dealers and hustlers. People like Wigno Chivayo have become celebrities, dishing out cash without going past grade 7. Wigno has never seen a school beyond grade 7 and is one of the richest guys in Zimbabwe for no reason and no purpose. No one questions that you've got a whole financial intelligence center and you don't question why someone is buying 3 $5 million cars and then posting it on Facebook. These are the kind of things that I'm explaining, that if you want to build an economy, if you want to leave a legacy, you don't do such a thing. You don't employ 22-year-olds to be a minister of finance and expect the economy to work. We have got a proud people, a qualified group of my own friends who work at the World Bank. They can do a better job than most of the guys that are there in Zimbabwe. And I don't want them to be appointed there. They will never come to Zimbabwe with this kind of behavior that is happening in that country. And we say this out of great love for the Zimbabwe government. You think every day I sit here and talk to you guys. I have got Netflix, Showmax, DSTV. What is the other thing? Disney. I've got all those things in my house. But every day I sit here because I've got a great connection to our people in our country. And it's our duty as Zimbabweans to create an economy that will serve future generations. But what we have, our ZANU-PF friends, and specifically the guys in President Mnangagwa's government, they do not understand the damage that they are creating with these things like ZIG, Tunya, Mutapa, all these things that they are creating, running away from the basics. Fix the dollar. The broken thing in Zimbabwe is the dollar. Release the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, depoliticize the bank, and create a day-to-day difference between politicians and the bank. That's why you see the South African Reserve Bank. They don't even know the politicians what is happening there. They have to ask. I'm not saying go to that extreme length, but if you want the economy to work, instead of giving us a ZIG, put Bitcoin. Look at the example of Ecuador and all those countries that are running sound systems. Look at the central bank digital currencies, what is running in countries like Venezuela. These are things that are happening everywhere. The United States of America is introducing a central bank digital currency very, very soon. Those are the things that we're talking about, not the Fugazi, the ZIG, the thing that has got no direction. If you look, you don't know whether you're looking at the head or the tail. This is the problem. And also, your Reserve Bank must not have a choice to release information. Imagine if the Federal Reserve in America released information on it once. So I challenge you guys to go to the Reserve Bank website now and type weekly economic review or monthly economic review and see when they last produced that information. So that's July. But July, August, September, October, that's 4 months. You got no information. How does a person operate in economy without information? So it's a total disaster, and they're making it worse because no one is able to check them and say, guys, do this, fix here, fix there. When we tell them here, they think that we're just crazy. But there is no way that a ZANU-PF government can ever be consistently in place when you do this. You're always going to be running. You're going to be running or you're going to be chasing people. That is what you're going to be doing. And everything that you're creating, eventually you will lose it. And this is not a light statement that I'm making here. If you do what you're doing now and you want to eventually have something in Zimbabwe and you're in government, there will be a time when people will have to create a new system and remove your system. Because currently your system is not working. How can you not have a payment system in a country? How can you not have a financial system? How can you not have a banking system? Because all the banks belong to one guy, that's Tagure, and he wants to buy the rest of them. So your banking system belongs to one guy. And he can decide to say, instead of me giving people free money to transact freely, how about I sell them US dollars on the black market? That's a possibility. You've got a payment system that is archaic, where someone has to stand and say, oh, is it EcoCash? Is it Zimbabwe dollar? Is it US dollar? Is it rand? These are the problems that we have. That is what you need to put a proper banker at the Reserve Bank. And then you put a proper financial person there by the Minister of Finance. Do you think the caliber of Gideon Gono and the guys that we have there and the level that they were operating at, even Chinamasa, when he was finance minister, he was better than these guys because at least he dealt with the issues. These guys do nothing. They don't even remove the zeros. They just sit. That is the problem that we have with the guys here at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, their bosses at the Minister of Finance and Treasury is a joke. You don't even know. And I was telling you the other day about the guys at the president's office. It's the whole system that is supposed to support our economy is dead. And now we have kids in the mix who are coming and they don't know what is happening. We need this to be fixed. The economy needs to be fixed. If you can't sort out the politics, at least fix the economy so that people are able to function. Right. Kati, that's how I gave comments. Kati hativagoni. Ive mtengesi. Iwe mtengesi usati nyepere. All right. Kati, I give you up to December. And I want you to understand what is going to happen. Some of you who are watching me, these things that I'm talking about here, I want you to remember Grace Mugabe, when she was at her peak, I was sitting here and I was saying these same words that I'm saying. If you keep doing this thing that you're doing, some of you are going to lose your life because of the things happening in Zimbabwe. And I don't mean the guys who are low. I'm talking about guys who are very, very high hook at the top. Some of you are going to remain with nothing. You are going to run from your house like Xavier. Remember what Xavier did? It was quite high. End up running from your house. There will be people that you think are untouchable, that will be touched because of these things. Not because people are uprising, but because some people eventually get tired of it. People who don't want to be tired. When they get tired, those people, then you understand. That was Zigo is the current. Zigo, one of the first guys to work at, in fact, Zigo set up most of Gambako Media. Good job. So, yeah. Godfrey, Mr. Gambako, good evening. This ED runs Zimbabwe like Spaza Shop. Yes, no, not a Spaza Shop, Banana Republic. And people need to be checked. The appointment of young Kuda at the Reserve Bank, at the Finance Ministry, the lowest level of mistakes that someone can make. Because that is a total slap in the face of everyone. There are people right now in ZANU-PF who are not happy about that decision. There are people outside ZANU-PF who are not happy about that decision. No investor who is serious is going to come to Zimbabwe and do such a thing. No one is going to put their money in a country where you behave in this manner. And I'm still going to touch at the CEO conference sometime later. That happened at ZIG. And as I said, you understand, the economy is dead. Nothing is happening until these things are fixed, until we get proper leadership. And this is going to happen. We need a change of leadership. People are being taken for granted on a daily basis. People are being taken for granted. And we keep saying these things. The economy is everything. If you fix the economy, people will love you. People will love you a lot. But they can't do it because I think God wants to punish them. So what God has decided to do is to let them make so many mistakes. I've seen some presidents, right? When they eventually get out of office and they're being made to sit like in a little place. Let's say there's a cage, they just put them there and they sit. And you know what's saying sit? The fed up guy who's got no house, no car, no money, nothing. So the circle begins. So Zimbabwe is in for a ride as we speak. Something else is going to have to remove this thing. And then we come up with something worse. And then and so forth. And it becomes a total will. That is going to be a problem. And our people are suffering. So thank you very much, everybody. I wanted to touch on this. Tomorrow, I want to touch on Nelson Chamisa and the dialogue. And I want to touch on the demonstration, the planned demonstration in Bulawayo. And let's take it from there. There is a lot that is happening, but a lot of nothing at the same time. So I'll unpack it for you. Our country is on the verge of another disastrous 5 years, but we need to fix this. If I was someone in the presidency, I would find a way to get rid of all the poor appointments, especially the Minister of Finance here, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, the ZIG. Fix all these things and let's move on to another level. But we've spoken a lot about a lot of things and nothing has happened. So let's see what happens this time around. The ZIG, 392 kgs already sold. Nothing backing it. I can assure you there's no 392 kgs of gold there in the Reserve Bank. Because if the whole of Rio Zim is expanding their plant and getting 195 kg, and where do you get the 390 kg? And how long can you sustain that? Selling $1 million worth of gold a week on a ZIG. So mark my word, the numbers don't lie. This is all a mirage, a fugazi, as I said. Thank you very much, everybody, and good night.
In a world of an ever-changing and volatile financial markets landscape, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has introduced a cutting-edge financial instrument that combines stability and convenience. The ZIG, a gold-backed digital token, and now unveils an added feature, the ability to transact in this instrument. 1. As a bank customer, you approach your bank to buy ZIG tokens denominated in milligrams, payable in Zim dollars or US dollars. 2. Minimum purchase of ZIG by individuals is $10 US and corporates is $5,000 US or the Zimbabwean dollar equivalent. 3. Once ZIG has been purchased, the holder will, in addition to their existing bank account, now have a ZIG account denominated in milligrams of gold. 4. The bank client can now transact using their ZIG account through swipe and online payments. 5. A holder can keep ZIG balances for transacting or store of value purposes with a redemption option in US dollars or Zim dollars depending on their preference after a 180-day vesting period. 6. Goods and services will also be priced in ZIG. Tap into the power of ZIG, the Zimbabwe Gold.
Uyo, uko, kuno, aho, pano. Mama wanna get it nice. I know Kuda meso, I know Kuda nzebe, I know kaya mari. Kama.com, wengere.com, usasai. Anogaya mari.
Kamba kwe uyo, anotara mari, anogaya mari. Garai mamunzu, pane nyaya pano zvamunoda kunzwa zvinotaurwa pano madiko kumunzwa mugova ne.com gambakwe vanogaya mari vanotaura mari vanosiya mari gambakwe vanotaura feya kuti pamberi zvichafamba sei vanhu muteerere zvikubatsirei mukufamba kwenyu zvikubatsirei mirai ndikudze kuti chokwadi pano chizere gambakwe vanogaya cash vanopa mafacts vanotaura straight vane evidence vane confidence plus intelligence
entertainment current affairs and news gambakwe.com usasarire gambakwe